I learned something. Welcome back to another episode of Elevate and Illuminate, the Empowerment Podcast. I'm your host, Jamarcus Fields, founder and executive director of Iron Sharpens Iron Wasp Incorporated. This season, we're not shying away from the hard truths about mental health.
Mm.
We're shining a light on the struggles that many carry in silence, especially young men navigating justice involvement, relationships, fatherhood, and the weight of their own mental battles. Today's guest is a young man who knows that struggle firsthand. He
Sir.
has walked through incarceration, he's currently on home detention, and he's wrestled with deep pain. But he's still here, still fighting, and still working to find his path forward. This conversation is about more than just survival, it's about resilience, honesty, and what it takes to keep moving when life feels overwhelming.
Mm.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Go ahead and take an opportunity, introduce yourself to the guests, and tell them a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, my name is Jorden Galbraith. Nice to meet everybody. Um, I've struggled with mental health my whole life. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I currently got out of prison. I met Jamarcus when I was in prison. He put me on Breaking the Chains. I don't know if anyone's heard that. Run through pace when he still was there, but it kind of just helped me reevaluate my mind and my life, especially through trauma. So now, ever since that conversation that we had, man, I've been locked in. So I appreciate you and I thank you for the opportunity to be here. But yeah, I mean, 25, got three babies. um, and I just work. I work and I'm trying to do God's will. So whatever that may be at any given time, even this conversation that we're gonna have tonight, I feel like it's just gonna change people's perspective and remind people that they're not alone. That we all battle demons. We all go through mental health struggles, even if you ain't had to take medication or anything like that. So just trust the process and focus on God.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, thank you. And again, we thank y'all for joining us this evening. As we get ready to dive into this conversation, always remember and be mindful that the chat room is open. So, any questions that you have, any comments you want to bring to add to the conversation, feel free to put them in the chat. Sometimes the chat takes a life of its own. Y'all be in there having your own dialogue and conversations, and I love it. So the chat is definitely open for any questions or any comments that need to be added to the conversation. So, Jordan, first I want to thank you for your courage in being here and for being willing to share your story. Um, when you think about your journey so far, what has been the hardest part of protecting your mental health while being justice involved and now on home detention?
So I would say it's a combination of things. The hardest part for me, besides like personally, was just being away from my kids. I had this mindset that my whole purpose, because I never had like a consistent family. You know what I mean? Like mom had problems, dad he was in and out. So like just being the ideal father, the best father I could be. I over exceeded that, and so when I got taken away and my kids didn't have me every day, I just felt like I was losing them. You know what I'm in a sense because when you go do time, you actually like change. Like normally you change if you willing to do the work. So I had to change with the. It was almost like an attachment. Like it was like an obsession with my kids. You know what I mean? It's not just love. You know what I mean? But my main focus and I felt like my whole purpose in life was just to be the best father I could be and elevate them. So at times I wouldn't take care of myself, like simple things, going to get a new pair of shoes, going to the store, anything like that. And it wasn't the money wasn't there. I just felt selfish doing that. So that was the main hardest thing at first. Then it became when I sat down, it became the battle one on one. You know what I'm saying? My back's against the wall. I can either run, you could do a number of things in jail to distract yourself, but uh, I could either keep running from my problems, keep ending up in the same cycle of doing good, getting great, and then 5 steps back. Or I can learn myself and adapt and grow. And so I remember one day specifically, I was just talking to God and it just hit me like I'm a product, not just of my environment, but the stigma that grew up around it. Like for a long time, like I suffered with anxiety, depression, PTSD, and I would always like say that I had those things and I gave power to it. But once I stopped doing that and realized that I actually had a problem and I needed help that not just medication could fix, everything started to change when I got close to God. Um, but right now, being on home detention, I love it. I love it. I almost did 4 years, and it's not the sense that I love not being able to go do things. I mean, I get 4 hours a week. You know, what I mean, I work 7 days a week right now, uh, but just the transition, this transition now being on home detention was easier than becoming home from prison and probation because I was on probation, yeah, but I could still do whatever I wanted to do. So just having the accountability of like, you know, do what you have to do. Like this is last chance.
Right.
Has helped me. Um, and of course, like I get bored sometimes, but that's when I realize like I'm still building myself. I want to build a foundation because without a good foundation, you can, what's going to happen to the house. So, like getting in touch with God has been a blessing. And I used to make excuses and not make time for God, but now I don't even have that option. You know what I mean? So,
Yes, sir.
but I keep a small circle now. Of course, old friends hit me up time to time. They want to go do things. I'm out the way. I'm out the way. You have to change your environment to change as a person. So that's what I had to do is just learning to be comfortable being still, um, not moving too fast. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things I could do in the short time that I don't need to get caught out. Well, what's my life going to look about next year? You know what I mean? So just focus on what I could do every day to better myself and being satisfied with that and not stressing about tomorrow. That's been a challenge, but I feel like I finally locked in to be content. I don't want to be complacent, but I'm content. You know what I mean? So that's
Absolutely. That's one thing you've since the time I've met you, I've immediately knew that you took pride in being a great father, being an
sure.
active father. Um, so we'll dig a little more into the story in terms of the mental health piece that comes with being on home detention. um of course it still gives us structure, which a
Mhm.
lot of people run from that when that's actually what they need in that moment, because change is happens to everybody, but change can be difficult too, because sometimes within your process of change calls for other change. It's kind of like I was just, before we got on air, and I was telling you how, I went into my season that I just went through, but it enlightened some other things.
Right.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're so tunnel visioned on what we want or where we're trying to go that when something else gets added to the equation, it throws the algorithm off.
Right.
And we don't quite know how to deal with it. You know what I mean? Because again, I met you while you were still inside. You came home, and then you had another brush with them people trying to live out and accomplish the right thing, which you wanted to do, but
Yeah.
it threw the algorithm off.
Yeah. Nah, you're definitely
So
right. Yeah.
yeah, so I can see since that brush that this time something has shifted
I mean,
in you into the appreciativeness of letting this play out. I told sometimes we can want to control it so much that we make it worse.
yeah.
And sometimes we have to be okay letting God direct it, even when it doesn't feel right and even when we don't understand it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's so like I was saying, like when I was in prison, I'm my Bible every day. I'm fasting. I'm praying almost every day, and I forced myself to read at least 6 chapters a day. And then when I first got home, it was the same thing. It was like the honeymoon phase. Everything was great, and outside looking in, it all looked good. But slowly, like it was mainly the mental health factor that I didn't think was playing a role. But like I just felt weird being home. It felt weird going to sleep. Ain't no noise, lights ain't on. You know what I mean? It's just like the environment shift. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal because I had everything I've been hoping for. I got my family
Yeah.
back, I got my kids, work's doing good, everything like that. So having to like this time around, after the situation, which we could talk about later, but um, it just I had to negate all that. Like everything just had to scratch the plan. I had all this great big plan. We talked about that before, especially and breaking the chains. Uh, just make this plan when you come home. This is everything's gonna happen like this. I got this list right here. Everything's gonna happen. I'm gonna do this first, step one, two, three, four, and then you get home and like you said, something changes the algorithm. And it was just, even though I didn't do the situation, going back through that, it felt like it still was my fault because I didn't have to put myself in that situation, but I was just trying to be a good father. But again, that's what I talked about with having the attachment with my kids. You know, I've missed a lot of opportunities in life, and also relationships and stuff like that, just trying to be the best that I could be and staying for my children and thinking that's what they needed, but the whole time they didn't need the situation at all. They needed me.
Right.
And so this time around, it's just kind of helped elevate my mindset. Like, I'm different motivation completely. Like I was still very motivated when I came out of prison, but like after being on home detention now and like just realizing like because I was supposed to be on probation in November, and
Right.
so like it's just it shifted everything. But I enjoy it now. Like I don't look at it like and I had this mentality for a long time, but even when I got out, like bad things would happen. I was stressed about it, I worry about it. But like I don't look at life as like bad things happening. I look at it as lessons. And God is trying to show me in every something in every situation. So trying to like define what that is could be challenging. But
Right.
if you don't worry about it and you have faith that God's gonna get you through it, everything will be okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. So you shared with me that you once attempted to end your life.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what led up to that moment and what has helped you keep going since?
Yeah, yeah. So back in 2021, part of my case, it was arson, trying to kill myself by fire, and I succeeded. They brought me back, um, but I was just in a really dark place. Like we spoke about, earlier. Like I felt like I was becoming enlightened, but spiritually I was dead. Mentally I was dead. I mean, I was down to 185 pounds. I sit at 215. You know what I mean? Like, so like, it, I was working out, just like everything just came crashing down. I was working 70 hours a week, and I was getting high at the time on Suboxone, and I was smoking weed and vaping and cigarettes. It was just like it was a horrible combination. And a situation happened. One of my baby mothers called my PO and told her I was using. So she's like, "Hey, come in for a drop." And I was like, "Ah, nah, I'm in." I do tree service. I was literally in a tree in Brownsburg.
Hmm.
So I tried to get a little test to pass it. I ended up having to pee in like 6 times. I failed it, but that right there, like, and I know people like suicide is, I mean, it's crazy, but like for me, it has blessed me because a lot of people attempt get out and then they go back through it. But when I attempted, I was in the ICU. I died from cyanide poisoning, and like I woke up after 3 days. And I'm talking to the mental health lady. She's just asking me a couple questions, asking me about my childhood, asking me about my teenage years, just the trauma. And I started talking to her. She's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put a 72-hour hold on you." And I was like, "What? No, I'm good." I try to convince her, I'm great.
Right.
And God was like, "No, you about to sit down." Because if I did not have that 72-hour hold, I would have finished the job. I mean, I was that tore up, and I didn't realize how selfish suicide was neither. And we don't talk about it like, especially selfless people that constantly give, 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 and don't receive or don't even care about receiving. You know what I mean? There's not no boundary set there. You run on E. And so for me at the time, like just being able to die and come alive opened my eyes because I felt like I was already dead, and I was surprised I didn't die sooner just by my life choices and things I used to do. But God yet blessed me again. So like even having this, I just owe it to God. Like my voice, I couldn't talk higher than like a whisper. I had an ulcer in my throat. When I was under that, tried to rip uh, the incubator out of my throat. I couldn't walk. I had to relearn how to write. talking was hard. Memory, I couldn't remember anything. So, but again, it all led up to negligence. That's literally what it was. Like, I seen the signs and I felt feelings, but I never thought, as a child, I tried to commit suicide. But I never thought that I would go through with it again. But I didn't realize how dark of a place I was in. And nobody else realized either. You know what I mean? Like, we have families and friends that suffer from anxiety, depression, especially depression all the time. But we put on this mask because we don't want everybody to like the stigma around it. We don't want people to like, oh, well, he's crazy or she's crazy because they think this. There's some resources now, yes, but like, especially when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of that. It was all medication. Medication. This,
Right.
take this medicine. Oh, he's anxious. He has ADHD. So I took probably a good 30 medications as a kid. I've been almost, yeah, a year and a half now with no medication, and this is the best I've felt in my entire life. But the medication helps, but you have to also substitute it with something like therapy or like self-work in any way. In prison there is none of that, you know what I mean? So uh, I mean, there's psychiatrists, but yeah, so I mean, suicide is very prevalent. I don't remember the exact statistic. I believe it's like every 17 seconds a man kills himself in the US. I have that right? You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's just, I mean, that's baffling. Like, and it's not talked about enough. Like, you got suicide awareness now, you got the hotlines and everything. And those are great resources, but like within family units, it's not talked about because nobody knew. Nobody knew I was even getting high. I'm good. Once the kids come around, what's up? Let's play. And just being able to have that time though, like in death was, I mean, it was eye opening to me. Was eye opening to me. But ever since I did that, like, I mean, life just keeps getting better and better and better. But I had to fall completely. Like, I lost two houses, two cars. I lost, I mean, my family, I lost so much. But it's like the story of Job. I mean, Job lost everything, everything. God allowed the devil to take everything. Then I relate so much to that because, like, even though I lost everything then, I'm getting everything and more back now. And I have a relationship with God again. You know what I mean? So, I kind of went off there, but
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Run off when you feel you need to.
if you have
Um,
anybody to talk to,
right. So I want to actually, there's it's a couple questions in the chat. I want to go back. The first one was during that process. We heard you say that you didn't realize how selfish suicide was. In that process, either leading up to or like right beforehand, did you think of the kids, your family, your friends? And if so, what part, what did that do? What kind of impact did even having those thoughts have?
yeah. So actually when I did it, after I lit the fire and everything, I actually made videos for my kids. I FaceTime my brother actually, and he was begging me not to. And this wasn't a cry for help. Like, it was already done. You know what I mean? I barricaded my house, like a barbell that you live with. I had a metal door out of town. I wedged it. They had to use the jaws of life to get that open, I guess. But I did. I definitely did. But I thought the person I was at the time, like, I had so much guilt for not being enough, not being better, not being more. Because I always believe we can grow. But I was never content. And so, like, when I thought about my kids and the life I was giving them and like everything like that, it hurt more that I was not better. And with my time, with parenting, with, structure, all that, it was great, but I was not better for myself. And I felt like, I mean, they'll be better off. I thought everyone would be better off without me. I didn't realize how much it would impact people. But like when I was in the ICU and my family showed up, like that blew my mind because my family loves, especially like my dad's side, but it's sometimes at a distance, and it's not. We all got lives, you know what I mean. But when I physically like felt their presence, and when I woke up and seen them, it reminded me of why I live, because a lot of people love me, and when we go through a suicidal moment, like you feel alone, you feel like nobody cares. You feel like you've been telling people, giving people warning signs, dropping hints, and I guess you could say I was dropping hints, but nothing about death, just like depressive waves, isolation, and just work. That's all I did. Work in the gym. That's how, like, even that's why it's like on that, like, even too much of a good is bad, you know what I mean? So I would put all my anger into the gym, all my depression into the gym. And it helps. It definitely helped. But I was realized like I was just repressing everything. Everything just from years and years of trauma just built up. Um, but yes, it made it worse for me when I thought about my kids because I felt like I was already to this point. Like, how could they look at me with like love and respect, knowing that I'm about to do the most selfish thing? And at the time, I didn't think it was selfish. I was just fed up. But being able to like look back at it, yeah, it definitely did.
Uh, so another question that was asked is, do you have anyone to talk to? Meaning,
Now,
do you, yeah, in terms of your village, yeah, now,
yeah,
um, that you're like totally comfortable being naked in front of?
yeah. So like, it is not that I didn't even have the resources then. It was the pride. And not the pride of the sense like I'm him. I don't need nobody. I got it. But the pride of just letting someone be like that close to you that's and be so vulnerable. I just didn't think one, nobody would listen, and it felt like it was just like complete isolation. Like I said, like I just felt like this was my life, working 70 hours a week. It's cool, it's fun. I love to work. I'm a hard worker, but I did not do nothing for myself. I didn't do nothing for myself. So even when like I would talk to like, family members and stuff, like I guess you could say I would drop hints, but it was unexpected. Like I didn't even know I was gonna do it. It wasn't planned. It was just pure impulse. And so, but yes, I have a good support system now. I mean, Jamarcus is one. There's a situation that happened a couple months ago with my daughter, and I mean, if he didn't answer the phone, like, I mean, just having that, like, and I never really knew like the positivity that comes from having people that you, yes, we might not talk 24/7, but like just like if you really need them, they're there for you. I never utilized that. So now being able to utilize that, being able to put my pride at the side, knowing that I don't know everything, and sometimes I need an outside perspective, and I need help. You know what I mean? We all need help. Like you said, a village. Like it takes a village for this life, especially now in 2025. You know what I mean? It's not like the old days where you just work and come home, everything's happy, everything's bliss. Or back in the day, you used to hunt for food and gather, like we got a lot of stresses. And I mean, social media can be a big stress sometimes. And just we're men, so we weren't taught to deal with them. I was never taught that. Like when my dad was in my life at periods of time, like, if I'm crying, so, stop being a little, you know what I mean? And suck it
Right,
up. Men don't cry.
man,
Men don't
man
cry.
up, little punk.
Yeah, men don't cry. So like for until I had my son when I was 18, I did not realize like I didn't know what love was. Like I always felt love, heard people say you love me, but to see like my own seed just like fully develop and to feel his love and affection, that is what taught me unconditional love. And for so long, I thought I knew the meaning. So like that having my son made me more vulnerable because I was like, well, I'm not gonna raise him like I was raised. And I always told myself I wouldn't be like my parents, you know what I mean? But actually doing it, yeah, it was challenging there sometimes, but it's easy, man. It's really easy, man. For me, it is. Not everyone parents is easy, but for me, it's a passion of mine. I love kids. I love just to, especially kids in bad situations. Like I do anything I can to help them, because, like I said, when I was younger, I didn't have resources like that. I mean, yeah, I had therapy and psychiatrists, but it was just my age group was just pure experimentation. Here's Ritalin and Adderall and Risperdal and Geodon and all these things, and we just got
Yeah.
pushed through the system. So I mean, like to be technical, my time started when I was 6. Like I did what 8 months in like a mental institution, Lutherwood. Actually, I don't know if it's still open anymore. But like, and I mean, it's beat fest in there. The staff do not care. Like it was just so abusive, and it took my mom. Like she finally was able to get me out of there. But that's what I'm saying. Like there was those resources that, oh well, here, send your kids here. Like it's positive, but that's why it's like the whole stigma around it was just different back in the day. Nobody knew what chronic anxiety was or bipolar. Like we knew the terms, but from a familiar standpoint, we didn't really see people go through that. You know what I mean? Like, and if we did, we didn't know what it was. We just thought someone was hyped up. So it's different now though.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because we was just we were just talking about how you know it becomes a full-time job. Hearing
Mm.
you say that how you reached out to me, and had I not answered the phone, like, you don't know how that would have went. And that's what I was telling you, like, in this space, like, there is no 9 to 5.
Yeah,
Like,
24/7.
this is 24/7. Like,
Right.
if someone is having a mental health challenge or a mental health crisis at 2 o'clock in the morning, if you're their person,
Hmm.
like, that could be a big difference in how this scenario plays out.
Right.
If they can't reach the individual that they're comfortable expressing that to,
Hmm.
then it's like, okay, what do I do? And then it's, you start acting off impulse. So, I'm glad that, one, I picked up, as well as I'm honored that you trust me enough to be vulnerable like that. So, that's both that's an honor. So appreciate it. Glad that I could be there.
Right.
Um, so there was another question in the chat, surrounding that topic. At the time that you made the attempt, how did you view, like, life and death? Like, because I hear now definitely how you're into the word, parables, the messages that God left, through the prophets and the books. But were you armed with that knowledge back then? Meaning, when you get ready to make an attempt, how did you look at death? Did you believe in a heaven or a hell, or what was your thoughts surrounding that going into that?
Right. So like I'm an Israelite now. I was raised Christian, and so I knew, like especially suicide, like it's a bad thing. But I think at that point in my life, like that is one of the lowest moments I felt. And like I said, as a kid, I attempted suicide before. But I was a child, I didn't have children. I didn't have no responsibilities. I didn't have all these things to leave behind. And I didn't really like, especially about like the law, statutes, and commandments. I didn't really care. Like I believed in heaven. I knew heaven was real. But that was the point in my time where I was still traumatized from, Christianity being force fed down my throat, as a kid. So me and God had like almost like a trauma bond that was horrible. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I could talk to God whenever, but at the same time, like I was like, well, is God real? You know what I mean? Like I had one of those moments, and I've always known in my heart that God's real. But the way I was taught is not what the law says. And so, even going through this process after my suicide, I had the time to actually sit there and read the Bible all the way through, front to back, Genesis to Revelations, and actually seeing the word for myself and being able to apply it to my life, but also realize like a lot of the things that most people believe are sins or like commandments are really twisted and turned in a way to benefit the religion. So, like, as an Israelite, we're not religious, we're spiritual. And, you know, learning all 613 laws, statutes, commandments is just like, it's easy. It makes it seem so hard. Like, when you think about 613 laws, statutes, commandments, that's like, I can't do
Right.
nothing. What,
I can't do
I'm
nothing.
saying? What can I do? Like, can I even like scroll through Facebook? You know what I mean? So like but like getting into it and seeing it for myself and realizing that all sins equal, not this person isn't better than the other. And like, I mean, literally a law states in the Israelite culture, it was like if your brother's down and out and all you give him is, I'm gonna pray for you. I hope you do good. And you don't give him no help mentally, physically, financially, whatever it may be, like that's sin. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna pray for you. I'm gonna pray for you. I'm gonna pray for you. And that's a blessing that some people, that's all they can offer. But especially if you're in a financially situation to help someone, or even in a physical situation, maybe your neighbor, she's 95 and she's outside doing yard work and you 30. You know what I mean? Like just things like that. Like it changed my perspective on life. And I didn't feel like so victimized to life, like a product of what happened to me. I got power from like I'm a child of God. You know what I mean? I'm chosen.
Mm.
Like I'm literally here today. Like I wouldn't be here today if my purpose wasn't greater, you know. And the
Yes,
devil
sir.
always tries to get God's chosen in different formats, you know. So um it's just I don't know. I owe everything to God, man. I'm gonna say that probably 50 more times.
Absolutely. So, looking back, is there anything? I don't know what
It's my
just
video's
happened.
frozen. There we go.
Okay.
So
Looking back, is there anything that someone could have said or done in that lowest moment that would have caused you to choose life?
I've never asked myself that question. That's a really good question.
For real.
And someone could have done. The short answer is yes, but inevitably, I think it was going to happen one way or the. It might not have been that day. It might have been a different form. It might have been from drugs. It might have been, you know, a car crash from me speeding. Uh, so I don't think there's something necessarily someone could have done. I was that low, like I was tired. You know, I tried therapy before. I tried to rely on God before. I tried to rely on people before, and I was so tired. But part of the reason I was tired because I was just pouring into everyone. So everyone around me, like I'm giving my all to. So like holding my son, like that would have helped. And he was there earlier that day, so like it would have helped. But I don't think now if he would have been there with me, yeah, it definitely would have. But again, long story short, I think it was inevitable. I think it was inevitable. I mean, maybe a hug, maybe a kind word, but I think those were all would have been band-aids to a deeper wound. I mean, we're talking about a flesh wound to a scratch, you know, and I don't think that somebody, especially someone saying something, I don't think probably could have helped. Because I've heard people say, you know, like especially when I was younger, yo, you have the grass is always greener on the other side. Like you're young, you know, you got so much to live for. And I was like, in that time, I'm tired of living. I don't. This is a reason, you know. You know what I mean? So it
Right.
wasn't. I don't think so. And I can say like a lot of people are like, man, how can you smile about that? Like even going to prison, like I take pride in it. Like this is my testimony. I've been through so much in life. I've been beat down, kicked up, scratched, drugged, whatever, all through life. And I look at it as a beautiful thing because I could out here, you know, I could be on demon time. I could be doing a lot of illegal stuff, you know, doing whatever, be a hateful person. But like even going through all this, like God has still not hardened my heart. And that is a blessing. That is the most important blessing. Like, regardless of my life, that I haven't reacted to everything around me and took it out on other people and hurt other people. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So I have a two-part question. So what does coping look like for you today? When things get heavy or overwhelming, and how have you learned? Because I'm assuming that this is a coping mechanism as well to not let people deplete you. In other words, pouring out everything, finding yourself on E.
okay, okay. So I think my biggest coping blessing is God. Um, Even if I'm not in the Word, like I've had a spread over the last couple months where I mean I didn't read my Bible for 3 weeks, and I felt so guilty, and I felt like I need to, but I was still praying. And I talked to God, even in my head, like I was have conversations with Him. So that is probably my biggest coping mechanism. I like to work. I'm an arborist. I do tree service, and like I've had other jobs and everything, but this is like it's a passion for me. So like that, just like you know, cutting a log, like it just feels amazing. And it's not even like the aggression out of it, but the peace, being in nature. You know what I mean? It's very grounding for me. Spending time with my kids, that's definitely a big one. But also reflection and
Mhm.
like even in like a situation where I'm really anxious or anything like that, just reflecting. I'm like look where you was just at, bro. Like you was just at your worst. You had nothing. You was, you know what I'm saying? You didn't change, you know what I mean? Like you came from that. So like, what is this problem right now? This this is gonna stop you. So challenging
Right.
myself to not when having a coping mechanism, just like when I need to use when I'm having like anxiety or I'm having negative thoughts, but challenge myself to reflect on the past and what I've been through, because most of the stuff that happens now, like the worst is over, hope, what I mean, hopefully,
No doubt.
blessings and lessons. So, but being able to just look back and see how far I come, like that instantly, like, does it's like, how you tripping? You alive, you know what I mean? You here,
Yeah.
and you able to give back, and you able to share your testimony, and um, that that probably is the biggest for the coping mechanism. But now pouring out to people, I'm still working on that. I'm not the best at not being like selfless. Like I'm a very selfless person, and being selfish, like I've had to do it a couple times, because I felt like I was getting to that point. But now I'm able to recognize it. I'm a giver, I'm a lover, I'm a provider, I'm all that. You know what I mean? And it brings me joy helping people. Um, so like when I feel like I'm getting depleted, like I start to feel a little irritable, or like I'll get hot. You know what I mean? And I can recognize it now. I never recognized it in the past, but also it's like, the meaning of life like just has changed for me. So it's not about, well, I need to just focus on me right now, but it's like I need to focus on me, and I'm going to make time for that. But if someone's going through something that they need help with, if I can't handle it, then I won't handle it. Like we talked about in the mental health training, you know what I mean? Like if you're not good here, don't try to help someone else. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I've found a fine balance of being able to do both, but making myself take care. I just went and got a massage a couple weeks ago. You know what I mean? That was self care. Going to the gym again, like not in prison, that is self care. You know what I mean? Just and investing in my future. Like, getting that certification was an investment. There's a couple of certifications I'm getting at work, like not being so nearsighted and thinking big picture.
Mm. Good stuff. Good stuff. Do you know what your purpose is?
No, I'll be a lie if I said I did. I know some of my purpose, and I know my purpose is to help people share my testimony and give back to the community in some way. Um, I would be lying if I said, yeah, this is what God wants me to do. I'm gonna do this, this, this. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly what God wants from me, but I know right now He wants me to be still and be patient. Um, but I know it's just helping people. Whether it's bringing people closer to God, whether it's helping someone with a mental health or drug addiction, whether that's helping kids out of bad situations. Like eventually, I wanted to create program, for high risk children, children in bad environments, children that have mental health problems. And I don't just want to offer like housing, but I want to offer mentoring. Like, and I want to do it for like a 2 year period where it's like, maybe it's only like 20 staff, but all 20 staff have 5 kids. And over the next 2 years, like it could be living and, you know what I mean, like outpatient as well. But I just want it to be like a very safe space, because especially emotionally, where we could talk about our problems and teach children how to actually deal with them and not be a man about it. You know what I mean? Like it
Mhm.
doesn't even make sense, because like we talk, we need a brotherhood. The Bible even talks about that. Like it's about brotherhood. So being able to rely on one another, like women talk all the time. Y'all are great at that. Y'all can open up to each other, but like men, it's a pride thing. And I used to have that. Now I don't. Like even talking about this, like I 3 years ago, I'd be like, "Nah, I'm cool, bro." You know what I mean? I would have felt so guilty, but like God has taken that guilt to shame and turned it into like it's fuel. It's like a fire beneath me, and I love it. You know what I mean?
That part. That part. How how has the justice system impacted how you see yourself and the way you take care of your mental health?
How I see myself. When I first got locked up, and that was 2018, and I first found out I was going to be a felon, it destroyed me. Because, like, oh, well, I can't own a gun. I was obviously, 18, gun, like, first thing, like, taking care of, protecting my house, just the opportunities that I might miss. So, like, when I first got locked up when I was 18, it just felt like this weight's just like I'm in a brick house and it's just collapsing very slowly. And I just felt so small, because I felt like all the opportunities, like jobs, You know what I mean? Like everything went down. I was a manager at Planet Fitness, and then they found out about it. So like that messed with my promotion. To being the full time manager. I was at MIT at the time, and growing into the regional. Like, and that was my goal. Um, so like when I was younger, I was ashamed of it. I was so ashamed. But then going through, breaking the chains, like y'all taught me. What's the shirt say, man? Families don't define futures. You know what I mean? And just being able to like have a different perspective and seeing you and Mutia's like story, like that was like, bro, if you don't stop, man, these like because there's a stigma behind like people that go to prison or like someone might, you know, see you on the street or see a post you make about being locked up and they instantly like they have this prejudiceness against you. It's like, oh well, he's a bad person, he's bad character. Um, he's not safe or whatever it may be. People go to prison for driving without a license, you know what I mean? But still it's like that
Mhm.
stigma behind prison. It's just like especially at that young of age, was overwhelming. But now, like, I mean, I'm glad I did. I needed it. I needed it. Like a lot of people, like, especially when I first got home, my mom was like, we was having a conversation. I'm like, I'm glad I went to prison, honestly. It's like, how could you say that? And I'm like, well, because I couldn't run no more. I mean, I could run, there's
Mm.
everything in prison. Like I could
Right.
definitely have ran, but no, what I do, I sat on my bunk, I read books, I listened to music, I read the word, I worked out. I went to class. The year I did in prison, I did 2.5 in the county. But the year I did in prison, I literally did 39 weeks of classes. And I did 30 weeks of breaking the chains. Y'all kept having me back. I had to come.
Yeah,
And but
no doubt.
but I mean, just because like just because I was in that mentality doesn't mean it wasn't hard. Like, being locked up and 23 hours in the county and my youngest son was born while I was locked up. Like it was devastating. It was, heart wrenching. And but I found power like with the prayer circle in the county. Like that's where I drew my strength from was God. And I at first, like when I
Same.
first got in there, like God was like, go. I'm like, go ahead, go to that prayer circle. I'm like, man. And the brother ended up coming to me. He's like, man, come check it out, man. Like, you don't even gotta pray if you don't want to, just come feel the spirit. And I was like, well, am I gonna deny God? Because he just told you just told me, God. I said, no, you just had this brother come over here. You know what I mean? So I gotta go now. And that changed my life. So being able to just, I mean, I don't know.
Nah, I totally get you, bro. I know, like when I first came home, I used to always say how prison was a blessing. I used
Man.
to say it so much that I was like, I hope people not taking that out of context and think that
Maybe,
I'm
yeah.
like, you know what I mean, like promoting because I'm not, but knowing who I was going into prison
Mhm.
and then seeing the change that took place, the growth that took place, how my soil was tilled up. I said, same thing you just said. I said, clearly I needed to sit down. I
Yeah,
needed to sit
yeah.
down so God could get my attention
Mhm.
because I was doing the same thing running, and that's what we do. Um, and we know we have to get to a place of being broken um, in
Indeed.
order for his strength to work in our weakness. So yeah, I definitely get it. I definitely get it.
Yeah.
We had a
I already been looking at the comments. I'm sorry. Yeah.
right. It's all good. I'm on them. Do you think people understand the need to get or ask for help? What do you think about therapy, and does it help?
So I think help can come in many forms. Therapy is great for some people. Group therapy is individual therapy, family therapy. I'm in the process of doing EDMR therapy, which is a PTSD therapy. Excited about it, just because I feel like I still have subconscious thoughts, and just my subconscious could be negative sometimes. So I want to learn how to control that too. So I think therapy could be a great thing if it's used right. I mean, you have some therapists that just goes through the motions. Well, how are you feeling today? Oh, I'm feeling angry. Well, why are you feeling angry? Well, because I do. Well, stop being angry. You know what I mean? Like it's very like vanilla, and then you have passionate therapists that actually like pick your brain, let you know about things they've dealt with, and it's a personal connection. So I feel like if it's under the right circumstances and the right person, it could be beneficial, but it can also hurt people sometimes because I know people personally that have therapists that enable them, that tell them, "Oh, you're doing so good. Like, you know, everything is good. Like, just keep it up." You know what I mean? And not everybody needs that. Like, some people need like constructive criticism. Like, okay, well, you're doing better. You know what I mean? But I think this is how you could elevate in this way, and this way, and this way. Um, the best therapy I had was in 2017. Her name was Sarah, and I was actually through probation again. You know what I mean? This same cycle ended up repeating. So I
Mhm.
had to do it for a year, but like that year, I dealt with so much trauma, things I didn't even remember, things I didn't know, things I didn't think, you know, twice about or that I repressed so much. But it was never like, you know, we just sat down and clipboard in hand. So what's going on? You know what I mean? But it was just like a casual conversation. So I feel like people can somewhat, at least for me, the type of person I am, get more out of therapy, like talking with family or friends or someone that's close. You know what I mean? And just having the intimacy of it. Um, but therapy is definitely a tool. But in prison, there is no therapy. You know what I mean? There's no, "Oh, well, you can go talk to the counselor. Like there's psychiatrists and they'll give you medication." But all the work I did in my incarceration was my back against that wall. And it sucked at times. I was like, man, I'm not trying to do this today, but every day I forced myself
Right.
to at least think about something like, think about this situation, think about this event. And doing that, I finally was able to be comfortable with myself and eventually open up to someone else. But I couldn't even open up to myself. So how am I gonna open up to someone else? I couldn't face myself. I mean, I
Oh,
remember like, especially like after the suicide attempt, like I couldn't even look myself in the mirror. Like I was just utterly like disgusted. I felt ashamed. And like being able to transition that into like self-love and knowing what that really is, I mean, it's night and day, man. It's
yeah.
night and day.
Um, so relationships
Okay.
um can be complicated.
Yeah.
So what what dynamics affect your mental health? Like what steps are you taking to protect your peace now? And of course, I'm asking the question in a way because I already know a bit of the backstory.
Mhm.
So I don't know if how much you want to get into that, but like what steps do you take to protect your peace now when it comes to relationships?
I would say now I have boundaries. That is probably the biggest thing. And I always
Good
thought
stuff.
when I was younger, like boundaries was like, I, I mean, I thought of more like preferences. You know what I mean? I didn't really understand the concept and what it actually meant. But so there was times, like even having a conversation, someone can actually disrespect you and they don't know it. But if you don't acknowledge them and let them know, you know what I mean, they'll never know like that bothers you. So just having awareness to the conversations you have and not just hearing the, talk can help in relationships. But especially when you get out, like at least for me, I mean, I'm a whole new person. I had friends like try to hang out. We hung out one time, like just casual hanging out, and they ain't recognize me. The vibe was off. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm standing on business now. Like, I can't get distracted. Y'all in the same place you was in when I left. And if I hang out with you, well, I'm gonna end up in the same place I just was. If not, I might end up dead. So like being able to have boundaries, set them and stand by them and not let anyone, I mean anyone, you know what I mean, cross that. And if they do, to let them know and acknowledge, that this was a problem. Uh, but boundaries are, I mean, that's the foundation right there. You have to be able to sit down with someone and explain, especially if they're doing something that you recognize trigger point. Yeah, we'll get to that. But something that they're doing that's bothering you because I mean, if especially if someone has a lot going on mentally, like you could sit there and tell your whole life story to a person, give your testimony to them, tell them how bad of a place you're in, and they're like, oh, oh yeah, really, on their phone, like they don't, you know what I mean, or like they're just
Mhm.
distracted mentally. So you have to have like confidence about it going into it.
Okay. Good stuff. So I see you already seen the question in the chat. Do
Hey, I
you
see trigger
recognize your
points.
trigger points?
Yeah, I mean, so like now it doesn't. It takes a lot to even get me irritated. Like I'm not nonchalant, but like life is bigger than small fights, petty things. Like life goes on too, and I've had to end some friendships and relationships because my boundaries, were crossed, and it didn't make me mad, but it irritated me. And there's nothing wrong with getting irritated. Everyone gets angry and things like that. But when you start feeling like wasting your time, or like you're not being heard, like that's when you have to take charge of it, because it's only gonna get worse. And then if you invest even into family and friends, if you invest more and more and more, like you're just gonna feel smaller and smaller and smaller. But for me, I mean, trigger points, I mean, I wouldn't say I have any. I mean, so much has happened even this time around since I've been home, and I've been able to hold my composure. I've almost broke a couple times. Obviously, like the situation about my daughter, like that. That was, I mean, that triggered isn't the word, but I used a positive coping skill. Like you said, I called you. You know what I mean? I think it was closer to 3 in the morning, bro. I don't think it was 2 in the morning. Regardless, you answered the phone, and so like, yes, this thing happened. It was horrible. You know what I mean? But like you explained to me, like, what can I do for my daughter if I'm in prison for 15 years for reacting? What can I do? What
Yeah.
can I do for my other two sons? Like, what can I do for my brothers and my family, or even like for God? Like, what is my worth? And at times, I felt like being locked up. I definitely needed that for other people too. But uh, my trigger points used to be disrespect. I used to take disrespect very serious. Like, you disrespect me, I'm coming for you. You know what I mean? I'm right back with you. I'm arguing back with you. But now I've just been able to, like, nah, it's not worth it. You have to protect your peace. And again, to not have trigger points is to have boundaries and know what irritates you, know what makes you mad. You know what I mean? So disrespect, I mean, that could be a trigger point, but not anymore. I wouldn't say I have any. Like, I just like I said, I'm not nonchalant, and it's not that I don't care, but I mean, life's so temporary, and to get caught up on small, minuscule things, especially if you've been through traumatic experiences, or like lost your life, like I did. Like, it's just like tomorrow, like today, yeah, today's horrible. You know what I mean? Like, or tomorrow's gonna be so bad because. But what about the next day? It always gets greater later. You know what I mean? So like, don't get caught up in the now. Someone makes you mad, someone irritates you, someone stepping on your pressing your buttons or anything like that. Either remove them out of your life, reevaluate your boundaries, have a conversation with them, or just let it go. I mean, if it's immediate family and you can't get away from it, you just have to learn how to let go. Because 9 times out of 10, when someone is mean to you or disrespectful to you, it's not something you did. It's something that they're going through. You know what I mean? So
Do you still exercise the breathing exercises? Do you still do the breathing exercises?
man, all the time, man. What? Literally, so I'll be, and I do something called it's 4-7-8. It's where you in for four
Mhm.
seconds, out for seven. Well, you hold for seven, then you let out for eight, and that's supposed to like help rewire neural pathways and stuff like that. But like, if I get irritated, man, I literally just think of y'all too. I'm like, y'all used to say every day before we read something, all right, let's do a breathing exercise real quick. And y'all told us like you might feel like why, but it became habit. Like not even it's good for your
Absolutely.
lungs, but it's good for your mind too. So it definitely, yeah, I'll be doing it.
It's crazy. Like when I first learned about the breathing exercise, I wasn't a fan initially, um, because my initial reaction, and I think I told the well, not think I told the instructor during the training. I said, is there another method that I could use? I said, because the guys in the prison gonna look at me like I'm crazy,
What's
and they
wrong
gonna
with
not
Buddy,
really
man?
go.
Why he over there, eyes closed, breathing heavy, man? What's up with him?
Right. So when we first brought it in, I remember, introducing it. And, that was the thing. I would tell everybody, have their moment, because I know when I did it, it worked for me. But
Mm,
I was like trying to incorporate this. I'm like, there's going to be pushback. So do I have an option B and an option C? And maybe we could build up to that.
mm,
But that was the thing. Like, and I used to tell the guys, like, it may seem silly right now. I said, but what I'm doing is trying to get this to become habit
mhm.
so that this becomes your default. So eventually you get to a place in your life where you don't have to like remind yourself, okay, Jamarcus, okay, Jordan, take a deep breath before you hurt somebody. Like
Right, you just do it.
it's your reaction.
Mhm.
When something happens, when you're triggered, your mind automatically tells you.
Yes.
And when it be because I still do it all the time. That's why I asked. Like, that it started out, feeling goofy to me, but it's become a staple
Yeah.
in my life that I have to do like all the time because people will get on your nerves.
Man. Some people
They will
try to.
work
That's what they live for, man. Some
that
people live
right.
for it.
They will work it and then have to do the, that breathing exercise. Real heavy. I also within the breathing exercise have re got back into the habit of just saying thank you, Jesus, in those moments.
Mm.
Understanding that whatever it is that I'm going through did not catch him by surprise. And so I'm making too much out of it. So
Like you
just
said,
thank you,
yeah,
Jesus.
okay.
Whatever this challenge is about, whatever this obstacle is about, thank you, Jesus, that I'm not who I used to be because I would already been ran off in somebody's mouth. So I'm
I'm already
thankful.
gone, man.
I'm thankful that I'm not that person.
Yeah.
Um, so we got a few more minutes. Hey Maya, love you. My grandbaby shouted me out in the chat. Hey baby.
Um,
Um, so if there's a anybody listening right now that's going through anything similar to what you've gone through, um, justice involvement,
mm,
um, family conflicts, relationship conflicts, thoughts of maybe taking their life, what would you say to them?
I thought about this question a lot, and first, it's not going to be a 5 minute conversation. It's going to be as long as they need. Um, but just to remind them that all struggles are temporary, and it's all just like there's something you can learn from everything because we get so caught up in the now, the day to day struggle, finances, situationships, whatever it be. Like we get so hurt and we personalize everything sometimes, and so like just to remind them that it's not worth it. And they're not, most times like I said, if I was in the situation I was in, I wasn't listening to nobody. And I've tried to have the conversation with myself of what could I have said to myself different? Or if someone else would have came to me, what could they have done? But at the end of the day, it would have had to been to rely on God. And if someone doesn't know God, to I mean, again, I'm not religious, I'm an Israelite. It's about spirituality and no there's hundreds of religions, you know what I mean? But it's not about that. It's about the intent, to give back to the creator. And I just know that like, yeah, for me, like has just completely changed my life. Like, I mean, still like I want to cry, but I can't. I've cried so much in my life, man. Like it pisses me off sometimes, but like physically I can't do it. But I would say to them that God has a plan for you. And I know you
Amen.
might feel like nothing is going to get better. I know you might think that your life is always going to be this way, but it's not. And you're loved, and I love very big. Um, so, like, I try to show everyone love because a lot of people are alone, like, especially in incarceration. Like, I mean, I've seen guys, they didn't say nothing, but I can almost smell it when someone is like dealing with something horrible, like even thoughts of suicide. And sometimes I would talk to God and I don't guys about it. And I don't know if God like gave me intuition of that, but like, some people just have nothing. Some people don't have no one to talk to. Some people don't have no one to call on the phone. And being incarcerated, especially if you're waiting on court dates and stuff, it's just like, what's the point? Like I'm getting three hots in the cot, sure, and that's more than some people are used to. But man, I mean, it would be a very long conversation, man, and just letting them feel loved and seen. That's the main thing because a lot of times I feel like, especially if people are suicidal, they don't feel seen. They don't feel like their problems really matter to somebody. You know what I mean? They feel like they're alone. And reminding them, and try not to trigger them because, like I said, my kids, like bringing up my kids to myself made it worse. So like, and that's something I want to get better at, and I'm grateful for that mental health training we did because it gave me new perspective. You know what I mean? Um,
No, that,
but being able to talk someone down without triggering them is something I just that's I want to be a perfectionist at that. Um, but the main point is just reminding them that they're loved, that they're not alone, that this is temporary, and that God loves them. If they have no one else, God loves them. Um, but I mean, I'm sorry, it's a hard, it's a little hard, man. But yeah, their purpose is more than the situation they're in.
that part. Man, this has been a wonderful, powerful, enlightening conversation. I thank you again
So thank you.
for your transparency, for your willingness to share your story in hopes of empowering and uplifting someone else, enlightening the audience. Um, that it's okay to not be okay sometimes,
Definitely okay.
because truthfully, we all deal with it at some point, some season in our life. Um, Everybody that tapped in tonight, thank you. If you haven't, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are here every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, elevating and illuminating. Make sure y'all check us out, Iron Sharpens Iron, WAST.org, to follow Iron Sharpens Iron and see different things that we have going on. We're about to have a very strong close to this year. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. Just check us out, look at the calendar, see what we got going on. Um, and I appreciate everybody. So
Yeah.
with
Thank
that, let
y'all in
me
the
share
comments,
my,
man. Thank y'all for the questions. Thank you, brother, for having
yes,
me.
yes. So my closing reflection. Conversations like this are never easy, but they are absolutely necessary. What we heard today is the reality so many young men face, the battle between wanting to push through and feeling like giving up, the weight of justice involvement, the strain of broken relationships, and the pressure to stay strong even when inside you're hurting.
Mm.
Jordan, thank you for your honesty and for trusting us with your story. Your courage to speak out loud shows that pain doesn't have to have the last word. And
Thank
to anyone listening who may be struggling, I want you to know this: you are not alone.
you. Amen.
Reaching out for help is not a weakness, it's one of the bravest things you can do. Whether it's a friend, a family member, a mentor, or a professional, there are people and resources that want to walk with you through the storm. Mental health is not just about surviving, it's about learning how to heal, to grow, and to rewrite your story one day at a time.
Amen.
And until next time, keep rising, keep healing,
Sir.
illuminating, and keep elevating. See y'all next week. Love is love.